Hi everyone, it's Jimmy Nguyen. I'm founding president of Bitcoin Association. I'm here to lead a fireside chat about blockchain and how it can entice the iGaming industry. Joining me to talk about this very important topic are two leaders in the Bitcoin SV ecosystem, Matt Dickson, who is CEO and founder of BitBoss, a gaming technology company in the United States based out of Colorado. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Jimmy, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. And also joining us from Toledo, Ohio, I believe, is Phillip Runyan, who is founder and CEO of Hold Gaming. Hi, Phil.
Hey, Jimmy. Good to see you after Coin Live. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's great to see you both again. So we're here to help educate the audience at iGaming Next about how to both embrace the power of blockchain technology and, more importantly, what it will take to get the iGaming industry to more actively use blockchain, because it's been a topic of discussion in the iGaming world for quite some years. But I think more people are waiting to see adoption of blockchain as well as digital currency technologies. So to help us understand your frame of reference, let's talk about each of your companies and what they're doing in the blockchain space. So I'll start with you, Matt. Tell us about BitBoss and what you're doing with blockchain.
Yeah, so BitBoss is a real money gaming company. We have two segments that we focus on. One is the platform side, online platform side, and the other side of our business is a device for enabling cashless casinos using blockchain technology.
Got it. And Phil, tell us about Hold Gaming.
Hold Gaming is, we are a skill-based games company. So we do for money play in pre-regulated markets, regulated under the rules around skill-based games. So we do competitive casino games, peer-to-peer instead of playing against the house.
And I know both your companies are interested and are using and exploring further use of Bitcoin SV as a blockchain for powering all kinds of innovations. I want to take a quick moment now to educate the audience watching about Bitcoin SV. It solves a lot of the scaling problems that Bitcoin and blockchains have had for many years, which in my view has inhibited the use of Bitcoin and other blockchains in iGaming and all other industries. So we are one of the main competing chains of Bitcoin. That's what my organization supports, unlike BTC, which has kept transaction capacity very small, leading to higher fees and congestion on the network. Bitcoin SV is comfortably doing 2,800 transactions a second, has an unbounded scaling roadmap to get to 50,000 transactions per second next year and millions of transactions per second in the future, while keeping fees super low. The median transaction fee on Bitcoin SV now is less than 1/100th of the US cent. And as we'll talk about, that is a really key part of enabling the iGaming industry to use blockchain technology at greater scale. So Matt, let's talk about how your company's experience has been with Bitcoin SV. I know you use it now. How has it helped you solve issues for the iGaming industry and applications?
Yeah, so we actually use Bitcoin SV exclusively for our products. Like you said, scaling was always a major issue for us. The volume of transactions that online platforms process in a single day is staggering. Also, the amount of transactions that happen in land-based casinos is equally as large. So that was one of our main concerns. Also, the transaction fee amounts. We're competing against servers, right? Client server architecture. And if we're going to use blockchain technology, we have to make sure that we're on equal footing from a cost basis. And Bitcoin SV allows us to do that. There's several other advantages in terms of double spend prevention. Security is a huge issue in the gaming business. Bitcoin SV has many, many advantages when it comes to security versus traditional client server architecture. And also, one of the main issues that we have is trying to pay content creators and affiliates in real time as games are happening. We pay based on theoretical net win, not based on net gaming revenue. Mm-hmm. That way we can pay people immediately as a bet's happening for their services, for their content, for whatever it may be. And with the advent of nano payments on Bitcoin SV, it's really been a game changer for us.
Yeah, and what you're talking about is a recent set of technology upgrades released by the Bitcoin SV node technical team that opens the door not just for micropayments, 1/100th of a cent even, nano payments and nano transactions to achieve tiny payments, which open a lot of greater efficiencies. Phillip, what's been your experience with Bitcoin SV?
I think as far as those are currently developing with the technology, we're pretty new to the game. In fact, we only stumbled upon BSV the latter part of last year. We had, for all intents and purposes, had abandoned our blockchain focus after looking at the various options, and again, a complete and utter lack of speed, scale. Ethereum was our original go-to. A lot of this probably fair conversation, was around utilizing this technology. It was very expensive, so then you had to build a bunch of architecture to sit alongside of it to kind of function as like a segue to eventually getting to where you really wanted to be. And we were just literally pulling the rest of my hair out and going like, this is it. Like, we just need to get out of this game. And it wasn't until a mutual friend of mine said, hey, I've got this project that we want to do, eventually becoming Veridat, another organization of mine, that we took a much more stronger look at what was available to the market. And it was because of BSV that we re-entered this space to say, hey, we can now get back to where we wanted to be, which is to have a true means of verifying that there was fair play between two players. And that's our initial foray into this space, which is to be able to show that if I play you in a game head-to-head, that our entire layout was, even keel. You did not have an advantage over me. Our decks are identical as per the game Blackjack Fire, one of the mechanics that we have there. And that to us was the biggest thing. It had to be fast and had to be super cheap. When people are transacting it, I'm going to put in 60 cents. You're going to put in 60 cents. Like, if the transaction cost is $4, this is never going to work, right? But being able to transact at, again, a fraction of a penny, to show that when the deck was created, how both players actually played, catching all of those moves in real time, right? And then also the distribution of that payment eventually we'll get to. But just in and of itself, the minuscule costs, the speed in which it operates, was a no-brainer for us to get back down that path of yes, we need to build this. And the end user is really the beneficiary for this first dive into cryptocurrency and launching.
That transaction fee issue is something I hear about, as a lot of gaming companies have talked to me about wanting to move their applications from, for example, Ethereum, where with the recent DeFi craze of high trading that happened because people were trying to buy DeFi coins, it hit $14 in gas fees, transaction fees, to send a transaction on Ethereum just in the last couple of months. A couple of weeks ago, I checked on BTC, the Bitcoin BTC network, and it was about $3 to send a transaction. And that continues to vacillate. And I'm sure businesses like yours want both low fees and reliable, predictable fees so that you can plan your business models. Let's talk about what are uses of blockchain technology that iGaming companies should be thinking about beyond just player deposits and funding games. That's what, obviously an obvious use case. But let's talk about the more advanced things that gaming companies should consider and for getting enticed to this blockchain world. Matt, what are some things that you think are exciting?
I mean, I think there's two main points that are happening right now. One is gameplay. Blockchains aren't just for, like you said, funding. Blockchains are for actually running gaming platforms, and in particular, Bitcoin SV. If you think about what gambling is, I send somebody money and they either tell me I lost or they send me back money. It is what blockchain was originally created for. With the advent of the larger op return, which is just a way to add data to a crypto transaction on Bitcoin SV, if you get creative, you can make any casino game or any sports book function and run just like it does now on a traditional server. And with that, really, since it's all about security, as you're moving the money on a blockchain, which is the most secure way to move money, when you add the data to a very secure financial transaction, it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Because our data isn't a lot, right? It's, I want to bet on Banker and Baccarat, or I want to bet on the Lakers, or whatever it may be. It's a very simple, small amount of data. It gets timestamped. It's provable on a blockchain. It's provable to auditors, to regulators, to the player, to the house, to content creators, to affiliates. that transparency, some people shy away from it, but I think as they realize that the transparency can grow and create new business models, they're going to start to gravitate towards it. And then there's a trend going on Bitcoin SV, the tokenization of all sorts of different things, whether it be a bank deposit in a United States bank, or whether it's wrapping up Ethereum and allowing people to use Ethereum, but on the Bitcoin SV blockchain. Once you start to create a system where all the assets in the world become available to somebody in a token on Bitcoin SV, as a gambling company, you start to think to yourself, what's the point of a money transmitter? Why am I paying these fees? I had a conversation today where a platform was charging 8% to the players to move their money onto the platform. 8% just to make a deposit. It's staggering how much money is actually siphoned out of the system by the people who are just moving the money, and the people who are actually taking the risk, who are actually backing up the bets and running a platform and having customer service and all the things that go along with it, aren't making nearly what the money transmitters are making. And we see that as one of the biggest advantages to running a gaming platform on Bitcoin SV.
Great. Phil, what are the best and most interesting use cases for blockchain technology you're envisioning for your own company and across the industry?
Sure. So as somebody who is working towards entering into these regulated markets, so I spend quite a bit of time talking about regulation, talking about problem gamblers. And when you have things like public blockchains available to you, you look at AML and KYC. Now you are on a public blockchain, you verified all of your information. Think of the lack of friction from going to one game to the next that would allow you to be able to easily validate instead of having to input all of your information every single time, creating these individual silos. When you look at problem gambling, which every iGaming, even land-based, gaming entity, they have optics on. This has become a very real thing they have to be very careful about and making sure they're doing everything they can. Opting out, so in the state of New Jersey, as an example, they have 4 different ways to be able to opt out. And even then, you could just as easily go, and it's 1 to 5 years, mind you. But if you need to take a break for 30 days or 60 days, imagine if that worked across all the gaming institutions. It was just instantly known. It wouldn't be an issue. You can't just pop up somewhere else who wasn't aware that you were on exclusion list. You look at the payments platforms, right? So you have a single wallet, the liquidity. Pay Plus, I was just commenting on the CEO of Pay Plus on LinkedIn, asking him, like, are all these payments platforms, like, are they siloed to the provider? Is it open to everybody? Imagine if we took the App Store approach, which is like, use your money everywhere. It's not a problem. Yes, people would get in and out of games. You wouldn't hold up somebody's $50, $30, or $70 at a time, but allowing that frictionless opportunity to get in and play, to be paid out or lose your money with ease and go, the onus then gets put on to the operator to really get their poop in a group and say, how do we really engage these people and keep them engaged, as opposed to saying, we got your money, what are you going to do? You're going to cash out now, or will you just eventually play it until it's gone? So those are the areas from a regulatory perspective, from frictionless interactions, that I see the true benefits. And of course, yes, how we envision it, which is to show true fair gameplay.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I think the audience should most understand about blockchain that I think gets lost. Blockchain is simply a way to keep records and data. It's a data ledger. And the Bitcoin SV blockchain is one of the main public blockchains, meaning that the transaction history is public, it's auditable, it's verifiable. You can encrypt data so that you can still maintain users' privacy or companies' privacy. But the fact that transaction history, whether it be a payment, a game event, right, in a particular online game, can be recorded to a public chain, and everyone can be looking at the same universal source of truth, so that if someone's been identified as a problem gambler and they need to have a 60-day hold period, all games can access a single source of that information as opposed to different sources. It can also enable the tracking of fair play, because everyone from player to operator can see the game history from the same blockchain. So that's something that when you get your head around that, you can see the real power of blockchain for iGaming. Matt, I know one of the things you've talked with me about before is the ability now, particularly on Bitcoin SV with its nano service future coming with nano transactions, to create better ways to pay game creators for the incentives, for example, are the percentages of house advantage, right? Can you explain to me how you envision that could work?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a very tiered structure in online gaming. There's the operators, there's the platform providers, there's the content providers, there's the affiliates, and there's actually people that aggregate content creators, the aggregators of content, and they all need to get paid. And typically it happens retrospectively. They look at how much the operator made over the course of 30 days. And then they go through a somewhat tedious accounting procedure, wiring money, sending Bitcoin, whatever it may be, to pay these people, or cutting checks the old-fashioned way. And what we've kind of envisioned on Bitcoin SV is that instead of paying people based on the actual win, we pay based on the theoretical net win as the game is happening. So take a game like Baccarat, somebody may wager $1. The house advantage isn't much more than a penny. But then you need to pay, 3/10 of that penny to an affiliate, and you need to pay 1/10 of that penny to the content creator, the people that actually made the HTML5 game. And when you start talking about small payments like that, especially when you start to look at a country like Africa, where the average bet is much lower than other places, how do you do that efficiently? And there's been a change in Bitcoin SV where these like we call them nano transactions now, they were actually difficult to kind of accumulate and process and get paid on in the past, because it was such a tiny transaction that the miners were demanding a minimum fee to process that transaction.
It's worth it for miners, right?
It wasn't worth it. Yep. And now miners are actually going to allow people to accumulate these unspent transactions, these UTXOs as we call them, together, pass them along in one big bucket to the miner, and get back the total that they're owed in one normal Bitcoin SV transaction. So for us, it's huge. It's a game changer for making our business model work. We were always fine if the average wager was $1.50 or $2 or something like that. Now we can start to look at very, very small bets, 50 cents, 25 cents, whatever it may be, and the economics still work for our platform.
Yeah. And that's especially powerful for iGaming compared to land-based games, right? And what we're seeing is what you've talked about, which is the ability of blockchain technology to tie and connect better all of the players across the industry value chain who all need to get paid or want access to accurate information about the revenue and the gameplay, from game creator to operator, ultimately to auditors and regulators. To me, that's a real power of blockchain technology, is creating this ability to connect the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, and I think there's one other main point that people need to understand about Bitcoin SV. We all know the problems with Ethereum and the cost of processing a transaction. We know what it's like on Bitcoin, and there's really no way around that on some of these blockchains. There is the process on Bitcoin SV where you can actually go and negotiate for a bucket of transactions. You can negotiate with the miners directly and price your transactions in fiat.
Yes.
So as an operator, I can go buy 1 million transactions for a very, very small amount of money. And I can know, okay, last year I did 20, 30, 40 million transactions. If I doubled that this year and went and negotiated directly with a miner, I could negotiate 30 or 40 million transactions for a number that would be less than what people are paying to host their stuff on Amazon or Azure or wherever it may be. And all of a sudden I have a worldwide network running my gaming platform with easy access, easy on-ramps on the fiat side, which is really spectacular.
Yeah, that's a great analogy because what it is treating the blockchain essentially as a new form of data storage, but a ledger that also enables financial and game transactions and activity to happen. And you can buy in bulk like you would buy for cloud server space. And that's something really unique to the Bitcoin SV world. Phil, what are things you are envisioning can make the industry more efficient by all of these ecosystem players being more connected on one blockchain?
Sure. I think when you start to look at smart contracts, I think a lot of things that Matt had mentioned really hit the nail on the head. One thing that really comes to mind here is, and it was explained to me this way, and I don't know if it's an actual thing, but the Big Mac index, which is that the value of the Big Mac in rural Ohio, versus the value of it in, say, another country is, wildly different. So what we would call a penny slot machine here, a penny in some of these other countries like India, it's not our penny. It's actually a lot more than that. And so I certainly see value in that regard when you start to look at microtransactions, so that these things can scale without, and also, again, when you look at smart contracts, it really ties in the bulk of the industry, right? You get every downstream player who has, right, a right to some sort of transaction there. So I think those are going to be crucial in the growth of this industry, to easily accommodate them, where it's not just this kind of like bulk payment later on down the line that you're really trusting, right, the operator to say, yes, these are things that actually occurred, but you're getting in real time. I think that's going to be absolutely important.
And how can instant payments really benefit both operators and game content creators?
One thing I thought was really interesting during CoinGeek Live was that Sam from Hero Gaming was talking about the money management aspect and why they may not want these payments to go out right away. And to me, that kind of made me pause for a second, because if your concern is, if I can't pay out these people on a real-time basis, is there a risk there that I wouldn't get paid out at the end of a month or at the end of a quarter? If you can't make these payments, whether it be to an affiliate or to the content creators in real time, is that part of the money management process of being an operator, or is that not an issue? That's something I don't know. It was when I heard it, I laboradored, you kind of go, oh, that's interesting. So I don't personally have an answer. It was just something that I thought was a little bit concerning and worth question.
Matt, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we happen to think that there's actually a psychological effect to paying people instantly as well. If you create a new game and it starts to take off, and you're literally just looking at your crypto wallet, and they may be small transactions, but they're going to start to add up. You just hear the ding, 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 ding. It's the same thing that they do at a slot machine. As a content creator, you're going to see yourself getting paid. And we happen to think that's a very valuable aspect of instant payments. And also, you know that you're getting paid properly. Like you can go and you can check the chain and you can match up what you were supposed to get paid versus what you did get paid, the auditability of it, the ability to check in real time, the ability to see, I had a whale, I was getting paid a lot for my content a week ago. Where did it all go? Now I can very quickly check. And maybe, just maybe, as a content creator, there's something there, there's some way for me to contact the person that was playing my game, and I can cut something off at the pass much quicker, as opposed to looking back a month or 2 months behind and saying, oh, where'd this guy go? And he's already gone. Now, with the instantaneousness of this, from a marketing perspective, there's a lot that can be done.
Yeah, and you've mentioned several times the auditability and the ease that can happen if transactions are happening on chain. Let's talk about how this will make audit reporting for gaming companies easier for their own auditors as well as for gaming regulators. Do you think this is going to actually create more audit confidence in all the reporting companies have to do? What do you think about that?
So I just recently spoke with one of the testing facilities, GLI, and from their perspective, their business is not to limit people's ability or content creators' ability by blockchain, right, or any technical restriction, right? And so I lump them into the regulatory body because they do have the final say with other small areas about these tribal communities where you get the yay or the nay on whether or not your game gets to go live in those jurisdictions. And it was a really interesting conversation where, you know, they need the tools, they need the resources to better understand. For the most part, the things that are related to blockchain technology that have come through have not been very, not really like pushing any boundaries or forcing them to kind of address what the nuances of the industry are that may keep these types of products out. I would say that, again, being things that are public and encrypted, any sort of backdoor that would be allocated to these regulatory bodies to say, yes, this RNG, which has been sitting here since the date which it was approved, and this par sheet for this game, which hasn't been changed, like you can do the checksum on, you know, on the back end and get the accurate number that should be derived from here. These things will all be streamlined, right? I mean, because it's readily available. You don't really, okay, well, we got to go hop in, you know, check out, you know, new jerseys and make sure that this particular game, because as I understand it, every game has to be looked into. It gives them this very massive backdoor to, you know, run these types of checks and services to make sure it's working as it was signed off on, right?
Matt,
I mean,
what's your feeling about this?
Yeah, I mean, there's once again, the blockchain can create new revenue models for all sorts of different companies. You could literally just look at historical data on the blockchain for a particular slot machine and say, did it come close to playing like it was supposed to play? You know, was the return to player 5% like it was advertised and told to the regulators, or was there some kind of anomaly and the return to player was, you know, a couple percentage points less or 10% less or something like that, right? You can really start to see if there's any cheating going on as a regulator, and you can analyze it in real time as it's happening. And to us, and I don't, it's not just to us, it's to society, right? You know, Microsoft and Google aren't waiting around to look at data that's 30 days old. They're looking at data that's 5 minutes old, and they're trying to make decisions based on that. And when you start to take all this gaming data and you start to put it on a blockchain in real time, people can make better decisions. That it's the speed of the economy now, and you either keep up or you're going to fade off into the distance. So.
Yeah, that's a great point, and that's really a lot of the power of blockchain technology is the data capacity that it provides and the access in real time to data to demonstrate both truth and make better decisions. The ultimate message of Bitcoin that I want to leave the audience with is that it is the combination, the fusion of data and money. It's right there in the word bit, data, and money, coin, together. So it is using a technology system to be able to transfer data that has money value, that gets infused with money value, and allows much better decision making. So Matt and Phil, as we wrap up here, why don't you tell our audience what they can expect from your companies coming in the next year, and also where they can find out more information about you. Phil?
Okay. So our next big thing is to actually roll out our guaranteed fair play engine, which users will be able to, without having to interact with any sort of blockchain scanners. We'll have a very simple UI that will allow you to see when your deck for your challenges are created, how you played, and then eventually how your opponent played, which will hopefully clear up the customer service queues of concerns of, hey, you know, did I play a bot or did I play a real person? You know, I think you scammed me. Which is very prevalent in the world of skill-based games. I don't know if you noticed, but Andrew Paradise and Skills, they are currently being sued for about $6 million for fraud. We want to make sure that every time you play one of our games, there is zero question as to whether or not you got a fair shake, that you played a real person, and that the results were exactly as you as the player created them.
Where can they find out more information about your games?
Wholegaming.com. Thank you.
Gaming.com. And Matt, what's up next for your company?
So, our major focus for the rest of the year and into early next year is to roll out our cashless gaming for casinos. It's a simple word. It's somewhat misunderstood. There's always been this regulatory push to make people get up from a slot machine, walk to an ATM machine, insert the ATM card, get cash, and then bring the cash back to the slot machine. With the advent of COVID, Nevada has authorized cashless gaming, which means you can use a cell phone, sweep money out of your bank account onto your cell, and then use your cell phone wallet to deposit onto the slot machine. We actually started working on this concept before COVID, before it was kind of in vogue. Blockchain makes a lot of sense for it, and we'll be going for approval here in the very near future. All running on Bitcoin SV. You can find more information about that product at bitboss.io, bitboss.io. And we look forward to showing the world the power of the blockchain in real money gaming.
And that system is called Bridge, is that right?
That's called our Bridge system. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, check it out. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be a great way to allow not just a cashless casino experience, but give casinos and the game creators more information, data about how players interact with the games and allow so much more to be done. So I want to thank both of you, Phil and Matt, for joining me today and talking to the audience at iGaming Next about why they should be enticed by blockchain technology. I think they should check out much more information about Bitcoin SV in particular by visiting bitcoinsv.com or my association's website at bitcoinassociation.net. If you have more questions about how blockchain can be useful for your iGaming companies, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thanks and enjoy the rest of the conference as you take iGaming to the next level.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thanks, Jimmy.